For thousands of years, there's been this one name that just keeps popping up, echoing through the halls of philosophy, magic, even science. It belongs to this figure who is so mysterious he could be a god, maybe a prophet, or just maybe the wisest person who ever lived. Today, we're going to try and pull back the curtain on one of history's greatest enigmas, Hermes Trismegistus. So, this is the image that probably comes to your mind, right? A wise old sage holding the keys to the cosmos itself. He's kind of standing at that blurry line between myth and actual history, a guide to all the universe's secrets. But this picture, honestly, it just raises more questions than it answers, starting with the biggest one of all. So, who was this guy? Really? Was he one person, a divine being from another realm? Or was Hermes just a title, a name that was passed down through a line of enlightened masters? That's the core mystery we're diving into. And believe me, our first clue isn't where you'd think to look. To find Hermes, we're not starting in Greece. Nope. Our journey kicks off centuries earlier on the sandy banks of the Nile River, deep in the sacred world of ancient Egypt. This is where the story of Hermes actually begins. Okay, so look here. On the left, you've got our mysterious Hermes, and on the right, that's the ancient Egyptian god Thoth. And yeah, that is not a coincidence. To really get Hermes, you first have to understand this incredibly powerful Egyptian deity, because in so many ways, they are one and the same. Let's get a better look at Thoth. You'll see he's got the head of an ibis, that was a sacred bird in Egypt, and he's often holding an ankh, the famous symbol of life. And listen, he wasn't just some minor god in their lineup. He was absolutely central to their entire civilization. And let me tell you, Thoth's divine resume, well, it was absolutely massive. The Egyptians saw him as the architect of pretty much all knowledge and order in the universe. Just take a look at his list of job titles. I mean, seriously, what didn't this god do? According to the Egyptians, Thoth invented writing, gave people their laws, taught them how to farm, and kept the stars in motion. He was a master doctor, a powerful magician, and, this is a big one, a guide for souls into the afterlife. He was literally the bedrock of their society's wisdom. And this right here? This scene shows one of his most critical jobs. In the Egyptian afterlife, your heart was weighed against a feather to see if you were a good person. And the divine scribe writing down that final permanent verdict? That was Thoth. He was the ultimate record keeper, the one who decided your eternal fate. Okay, so how do we get from the ibis-headed god Thoth to a guy with a Greek name like Hermes? Well, history gives us the answer. When the Greeks came to Egypt, they saw what Thoth was all about and said, hey, this guy's a lot like our god Hermes. And so a massive cultural fusion started, and that created the figure we're talking about today. Okay, but what about that wild last name, Trismegistus? Where does that come from? Well, it's a Greek title, and it means thrice greatest. But here's the thing. The Greeks didn't just make it up. They were actually borrowing it from an old Egyptian title for Thoth, Thrice Great, which was meant to show his supreme power. And that repetition, that thrice, that is no accident. The number 3, it's everywhere, right? Across so many ancient cultures, this number had this deep symbolic power. It stood for divine wholeness, a sacred trinity. It was seen as the perfect number, almost like the hidden structure of reality itself. And look at this. This idea of a divine trio is everywhere you look. The Egyptians had Osiris, Isis, and Horus. The Hindus have Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. The Greeks and Romans had the 3 main brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. Even the Sumerians had Anu, Enlil, and Enki. So when the Greeks called Hermes thrice greatest, they weren't just giving him a cool nickname. They were tapping into this incredibly old and powerful human idea. All right, so we've connected Hermes to Thoth, and we've got the name figured out. But this just makes the whole mystery even deeper. Was Hermes Trismegistus a single person who lived and breathed and inherited this whole legacy? Or was Hermes more of a title, a name given to lots of different wise people over the centuries? This is where the big debate really kicks off. And this is where things get really interesting, because people just can't agree. On one side, you've got these really influential Islamic scholars who laid out a whole lineage of 3 different guys named Hermes, each living in a totally different time period. But on the other side, some historians argue that Hermes was more of an honorific, kind of like how Buddha isn't a name, but a title given to someone who has achieved enlightenment. Let's dig into that first idea, the 3 Hermes theory. It's like a saga. The first Hermes was this legendary figure from before the Great Flood, who they say built the pyramids just to protect ancient knowledge from being wiped out. The second one lived in Babylon and was such a master of philosophy that he supposedly taught the great Pythagoras. And then the third one, living in Egypt after the flood, was a master of medicine and the secret science of alchemy. And get this, the idea of this wise teacher figure, it's not just in Egypt or Greece. It's global. It's incredible. The Hermes archetype shows up all over the world with different names. In Jewish tradition, he's called Enoch. To Muslims, he's Idris. In ancient Iran, Husheng. In Hindu tradition, Buddha. All the way over in the Aztec world, he's Quetzalcoatl. And in Celtic myths, he's Lugh. It's this amazing global web connecting all these different cultures to the same powerful idea of divine wisdom. So, one man, a bunch of different guys, a god, a legend? Maybe the real answer isn't about finding a single person in a history book. Maybe it's about understanding the timeless legacy that they, or he, left behind. And really, his entire legacy can be boiled down to this one, absolutely mind-blowing idea. That which is below corresponds to that which is above. It's the beating heart of Hermetic philosophy, the idea that the small world of a single human being, the microcosm, perfectly reflects the vast universe, the macrocosm. That to understand ourselves is to understand everything. And that one simple idea has shaped so much of Western thought for centuries. Which leaves us with this final thought. Does it really matter if he was a single person? Or is the true Hermes actually an idea? A powerful, world-shaping concept of interconnected wisdom that's been handed down for ages, just wearing different masks. Now that is something worth thinking about.